Well, there was another request as to how did we come to the pharmacy? How did that all happen? And that's a story in life that I think you should all listen to. When the ambition for most of the graduates at the pharmacy school was to own their own business, unlike today, which is a whole different story. You know, with the Walgreens and the rest of them, it was to own your own store. Well, we looked and looked in the Cincinnati area, and the stores that were decent that you could make a living at, I couldn't afford to buy. The other stores, all you were buying was a 60 or 70 an hour jail to try to scrape a living out of it. So, in fact, we even came up one time to one of these little towns up here to see what there was a store for sale there, and it was a Sunday afternoon. You could lie down in the middle of the street, you wouldn't get hit. It was so quiet. But anyway, a store came up in Dayton. We had a Jewish fraternity, and we would have meetings every month or so. And one of the guys that would come down from Cincinnati, Hy Lachlan, who was quite a bit older than me, and he says, "Joe, there's a store for sale up there. A store for sale." I didn't look. Dayton's a long way off. Finally, he persisted, and we came up and looked at the store. Well, what it was is the store was in deep debt. We're talking like $20,000, which in those years was deep debt. So anyway, we made a deal where I would take over all of his payables, which was on the far side of 20, and for that I would get the store, the fixtures, and whatever inventory he had, and go from there. So that's how we moved to Dayton. Well, the point I want to make is we immediately wrote a letter to all the suppliers who we owed money to, something to the effect of, "Look, I'm the new guy on the street. You are all going to get paid, not all at once. You're all going to get paid, and we are going to keep doing business with you and pay on time, keep timely those payments." Because any one of those people could have put us out of business, could have put us into bankruptcy at that point. Only one company, a candy company, got antsy, and I said, "Fine, here's your money. Don't ever show up here again." So for many years, we would pay our current bills, and if we had some money left over, which we always did, we'd pay $50 to this one, $100 to the other one. Never a hell of a lot more. I can't remember ever selling more than $100 or $200. But it let them know that I knew that we owed them and they were getting paid on it, and we were doing current business. That's what you call having a trust in somebody that they're going to do what they say. And if you're in business, that's a key thing. You've got to keep people's trust. Not only for your own good, but for their good also. Well, finally, so now we own the business. And it wasn't too long thereafter, a few years, that was by the way, on Cincinnati Street, over by the UD Stadium. A few years later, they started to acquire property for Interstate 75, and of course they went right through the property that we had. So my lessor, the owner of the property, got paid off. He paid me all of $500 to move. Okay, he allowed me $500 to move. Well, at that time, Miracle Lane was a pretty prosperous shopping center, except for the drugstore, which was called Grade Drugstore, and they were really hobbling along. So that became on sale. So we negotiated back and forth, and I went up to Cleveland to their headquarters and made a deal and signed for the Miracle Lane Pharmacy. Now, when I bought it, they were doing about 15 prescriptions a day. We were all the way up into the 4s and 5s and 600s a day along the years. because we worked it, we did what we had to do, and of course those were good years. We made good money in those years. But that's how we got to Miracle Lane, was by way of Cincinnati Street, by way of not finding anything that we could deal with in Cincinnati. Now, many years later, people want to know, how did we get to the Catalpa store? Well, the Miracle Lane was going down and down and down. Finally, we were the only building on the whole lot, 8 acres of parking lot and our store. One day, the owner of the shopping center from Columbus, I forget his name right now. Anyway, he called and said, Joe, we'll be knocking down the building right next to you. And I said, okay, just to make sure they don't get rough and knock all the stuff off my shelves. And he says, and of course, your lease will be up next, I think it was March. It was like 3 or 4 months out. Your lease will be up. I said, Ralph, you forgot something. In other words, I'm thinking to myself, how the hell are you supposed to get out of a store, find a new location, do all the planning, do all the moving in 4 months? In other words, I would basically be out of business. His name was Ralph Skilkin. I said, Ralph, you forgot something. I have options on that lease, so I'll get out when I decide I'm going to get out. Then it gave us time to look around and find. And it so happened that Catalpa store had been a Rite Aid that they couldn't make go. So it was a nice building. It was a decent location. It wasn't too far from Miracle Lane. So we negotiated and bought the Catalpa store. Now, that wasn't easy. You had to deal with EPA, with whatever you do in construction and that, you have to do EPA. The records they showed was it was a gas station. The records they show is that 3 tanks, I think, for gas went in the ground. They can only show records for 2 of them coming out of the ground. Or there was 4, and then only 3 came out, whatever. There was 1 that they couldn't account for. Well, so we had to get these folks that are in the business. They have magnetic things that go through Earth to see whether there's any metal under there. There was no metal. We were able to certify, but all this took time. Nothing happens overnight. Put it off for good. Yeah, to clarify, before the Rite Aid went in there, there was gas stations. How they got by without us clearing the EPA and having those records, don't ask me. So we went over there and actually had some good years. We thrived pretty good there for 8 or 10 years, and then when I decided to sell out, that's what we sold out.